is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
Speaking of dying in this house, so we talk about the Borderlands.
Well, first we have to talk about...
Galad and Fain.
Yeah, first we have to talk about Fain. And before we can talk about Fain, we have to talk about Galad. Galad, Damodred.
God. Why is that such a funny name to say?
I don't know. Something about all the D's?
Yeah.
I guess because he's such a dick. I don't know. He's actually not being a dick in this. He's being pretty cool in this section.
Because this is really where he changes, right?
I mean, I would argue he started to change at the beginning of last book when he killed Valda. But yes, this is the new Galad continuing to stay the course of the new Galad.
Although this is one of those moments where he gets arrested, and then the next time we see him, he's being broken out by the people who support him. And that's one of those things where, that was all off screen. I would have liked to see some of that. Because, Asanawa is this big threat, right, in this chapter, and then the next chapter, Asanawa's dead, he was killed off screen. And you're like, oh, well, that's kind of disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been cool to see some parallels with Egwene and Galad and how they handle captivity and torture and all that. It would have been fun to be there's a man and he's a white cloak and he's having these amazing parallels to how the Amerlin handled her unjust punishments. That would have been a good use of page time. But alas, we have to imagine it.
But alas. So yeah, this is prologue part 2. I think we're going to get through the rest of the prologue today, is the plan. And we're going to start off with Galad Damodred. Galad Damodred, Lord Captain Commander of the Children of the Light, yanked his booted foot free of the ankle-deep mud with a slurping sound. Bite-me's buzzed in the muggy air. The stench of mud and stagnant water threatened to gag him with each breath as he led his horse to drier ground on the path. Behind him trudged a long, twisting column, 4 men wide, each one as muddled, sweaty, and weary as he was. They were on the border of Gil'edan and Altara, in a swampy wetland where the oaks and spicewoods had given way to laurels and spidery cypress. Their gnarled roots spread like spindly fingers. The stinking air was hot, despite the shade and cloud cover, and thick. It was like breathing in a foul soup. Galad steamed beneath his breastplate and his mail, his conical helmet hanging from his saddle, his skin itching from the grime and salty sweat. Miserable though it was, this route was the best way. Asanawa would not attempt it. Galad wiped his brow with the back of his hand and tried to walk with his head held high for the benefit of those who followed him. 7,000 men, children who had chosen him rather than the Shan-Chan invaders.
Ew, we're so posh as we do our very righteous retreat to the rear.
I'm trying stuff, man. I'm trying stuff.
No, I like it. I like it. It fits Galad, especially here with his I have to look honorable and strong and give my speech to the men so that they can be inspired and children of the light, last battle. Blah, blah. I get that. That was a really appropriate attitude for how he's thinking of himself here.
I mean, Kate Redding has started giving the Andorrans the British accent in these last books pretty heavily, which, it feels like a little bit of a change, but not that much. It's very subtle.
It's like she's leaning into what was there already. She just turned it up 700%.
Mm-hmm. And for me, I can justify it to be when Elaine's out on the road, of course, she kind of reduces some of that Aristotic accent. But, Galad, of course, and in the palace, you're going to see much more of that and much more, as they're actually queens and stuff, they're going to play that up a little bit. So that's my reasoning behind it.
I like it. Galad's leading 7,000 rebellious children through the swamp, and he thinks that they're going in circles or that the maps are wrong, but actually they're being led in circles by traitors. And the whole Asadawa won't anticipate it is actually his plants initiated it.
Right,
so,
right. That's the other reason. It's dude, Galad, you got fooled easy, right? He's so trusting. Yeah. He's so trusting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were getting a correction in chat that Wattfax said that, yes, Andorrans were specifically supposed to have English accents. In RJ's imagining, that is very much how that always was. Which makes sense because, he's got Elizabeth I ruling the capital city.
Yeah, I mean, it's very obvious that Andorran is, old school Elizabethan England, right? For sure. And then you've got, like, the Two Rivers that's a little more farmy, a little more...
Apparently it's supposed to be Welsh, according to that same source.
Sure.
So that, that feels correct. Fuck you, England. You don't own us.
Yeah, that feels accurate.
We have a dragon on our flag. I guess technically the Two Rivers has a wolf, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and then you've got, like, a bunch of the southern states that represent Italy and Greece, and, like, you can really go... We've done this before, where we've looked at all of the various countries. I mean, like, it's basically Europe flipped backwards,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Very much so. So, yeah, Galad is kind of... As he's hiking through, he's thinking about the last battle and how they're going to need to quit dicking around with human politics and go face ultimate evil and make alliance with Aes Sedai and not worry about the other children that are allied with the Seanchan. And, like, we really just need to go north and find wherever it is that the dragon et al. Is doing the battle. And, he's got children being like, fighting with the dragon? What? He's like, hello, have none of you actually read the classical education books that we all had to read?
Well, and Galad is really, I think, for the first time questioning himself, right? There's this moment where he's like, there's this crazy world where the sky was clouded black, where good men died to strange twistings of the pattern, where Valda, Lord Captain, commander before Galad, had turned out to be a murderer and a rapist. And he's like, this is a crazy world. I feel it, and I'm not sure that my compass is necessarily the right, I thought following the White Cloaks and going for the light and going for, good was following the White Cloak way. But it turns out, Lord Captain Commander was a murderer and a rapist. So maybe not, right? Like, it turns out our dear leader is a rapist. Like, that's maybe something you should reconsider following him. If he turns out to be a rapist in the highest seat in the land, maybe you shouldn't be voting for him.
Yeah, we all believed in this meritocracy where you just have to follow the rules and then everyone is rewarded according to their contributions. And
lawful good, right?
Exactly. There's that lawful good naivete.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he's really going through, like, now he's in charge of people and he's being forced to, it's the thing that Bryn was trying to talk to Gawain about, whom to serve, whom to give your loyalty and allegiance to. It's that conversation, but iterated through Galad, and it's like, I have to pick a different organization to put my unquestioning trust in, which is like, no, don't put your unquestioning trust in anything. But, baby steps.
Well, and also this, he's like, there's practically the last battle is going on. Like, that has to change things. Like, we can no longer stick with the status quo because of the last battle, which is something that, of course, the old leaders don't want to hear. They want to just status quo it the whole time. They want to be very conservative about their opinions.
Right. Well, clearly it's been working for them. Why would they want to give up their ill-gotten gains just to make life better for the rest of people?
I mean, the problem is when the status quo is leading to world-ending climate change, last battles, and you need to change what you're doing, or else you're just going to end up at the end of the world. And sure, you'll make some money in the meantime, and you may die before the last battle's over, so who cares? But, like, there's the rest of the world to think about. And if you give up on the rest of the world to make some money, like, you're a bad person,
I feel like the peasants might have something to say about that en masse before you get into your gold-plated coffin, but whatever. It's none of my business. It's not like I live in this world. It's all fantasy.
Yeah, this is a fantasy world, 100%. No relevance to every day.
Yeah, Vuji. Seriously. Studying biology be like, this is fine. Dog in flaming
the world's
house.
on fire. Everything's getting hotter.
But yeah, that's definitely where Galad is at. Is like he thought everything was fine, and he is finally waking up to the fact that the house is on fire. And he's like, oh, I am not sure what to do about that, but there's 7,000 soldiers looking at me to figure it out without looking uncertain. So stiff upper lip, engage.
And I know the solution is not to be fighting with the Seanchan, right? Like, they are not our enemies. We need to be fighting the Dark One. Despite the fact that they, and we need to come to terms with the fact that we're going to have to work with channelers, right? Just because they're channelers doesn't make them inherently evil, which is something that, like, yes, Galad, your mother was raised in the White Tower. You grew up around Elida, which, I mean, okay, fair enough. That can lead you to thinking women who channel are evil, right? Like, I get that. But, like, you know, at the same time, he really grew up. It's like someone who grew up in a diverse neighborhood joining the KKK and going like, yeah, but I knew these people and they were my friends, so I don't really believe your ideology.
Yeah. Galad's adopted mom was raised in the thing. Actually, I guess both of them, because they're both channelers, technically.
Was Rand and Galad's mother, was Tigraine a channeler? I don't think she was. I think she was from a line of channelers, but I don't think she ever...
I mean, she would have gone to the White Tower because daughter heirs go to the White Tower. Right?
Sure.
Like, regardless.
Right.
But, God, I had a different point, and then I got distracted by that. But yeah, it's like he's coming to the realization that you cannot have purity politics in your coalition. He's coming to the realization that we're going to have to work with people on whom we disagree about some pretty profound attitudes towards life, the universe, and everything, and how society should be run. We're going to have to allow those diversity of opinions to exist while we all unify behind dealing with the existential planet-destroying evil that threatens our ability to have different attitudes about channeling and other things that people can be very divisive about.
It's why I forgive the working with the Shan-Chan. Is the like, no, we're not a fan of the slavery. We're not a fan of the caste system. Like, there are problems with the Shan-Chan that we have to ignore while we fight off the Dark One. Right? Like, it's just, and it's nobody's happy about it, and it does lead to conflict afterwards, right? Anyone can look at the Russia-US relationship after World War II, where it was like, yeah, we have to deal with the Germans, and then we'll deal with the Russia relationship afterwards, and that hasn't really worked out for us, right? Like,
right. But like that other issue needed dealt with.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Galad is going through the come to Jesus moment that the entire like establishment left needs to go through. Yeah, it's you know, he's a little slow about it. It takes him maybe more plot cycles than I could wish for him to come through all of this, but he is ultimately going through a very important and necessary transition into being a much more effective leader. This is the beginning of a transition that does, I think, stick the landing in a way that a lot of these other plots we've been complaining about recently kind of don't stick the landing. I do think Galad's transformation does.
If only because he doesn't go through any of it before these books, really. It's very little of it, right? Like, he's a very static character for a long time, and then Brandon comes in and is able to like do his final evolution. Whereas some of his other characters, if he resets them back to where they were in book 5, I feel like.
Yeah, with Galad, you don't notice the difference. That's valid.
So the troops are getting all sweaty and hot and gross because they're stuck in this swamp that appears to be going for far longer than it shows on the maps because Dark One's influence and swamps are expanding.
And lying scouts. I think lying scouts is more the issue.
Oh, I always, I thought it was another example of the Dark One changing.
I did too, but like they went into the swamp because of the lying scouts, and you really rely on scouts to interpret maps. So I think that they were able to hide their lies behind, oh, the Dark One's just twisting the, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. Or it's both.
It could be both, but you're right. It's the swamp is probably small and they're going in circles. And so it's like they think they're going straight, but they're actually going in circles, which makes the swamp seem much, much bigger than it actually is.
That's my interpretation. Because Galad says that the scouts, the traitor scouts were the ones who suggested entering the swamp.
And there's no sun, so there's no way to tell what direction you're going.
Yeah, the great whiteness is like, well, we know that that's southish and that's northish, but that doesn't give you a lot of east-west fidelity at all. So Galad does some gentle propaganda to keep the men's spirits up, which, in dire circumstances, whatever, lean on your group mottos and ethos to be like, yeah, we can do this. Like, normally I think it's kind of weird propagandist mind games, but, when you're hiking through a swamp, you do what you got to do. It's okay.
We get some like propaganda from Bayar, who's like, we will have hundreds of thousands of troops because we are the children of the light. And the light, it's that like magical thinking that like, because we're in the right, we will just have all these troops. And it's like, where are they going to come from?
I'm going to shoot up a church and then the race war will start and then we're going to win. Okay. Sure. Step 4, profit. Gotcha.
I heard definitely step 4 profit. He's like, where's step 3, man? Where's step 3? Yeah. And then that's where, Galad pulls him back in and is like, we're probably going to have to work with some other people. We're not just going to be able to do it by ourselves because there's not enough of us and we keep splitting and killing each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he has the same, this is one of those moments where you're like, ooh, he should team up with Perrin, because he says every human that we kill is a blow for the Dark One. And it's like, ooh, him and Perrin need to team up, because they both have the same attitude that human on human violence is the dumbest thing you could be doing on the eve of the last battle.
Which, I mean, it's clearly intended as foreshadowing to them getting together, right? Because that's this whole plot arc, is the two of them meshing, getting together, and realizing, like, oh, we have the same goal, which is preserve human life for the last battle.
Yeah. This is, I think, when you're like, oh, that's where this is going. That's how we're going to resolve a lot of these plot threads, is Galad and Perrin are going to have a bromance. So
as they're hiking, they come across a bunch of bodies in a river. Those are from
Dead
Malden.
mules! Yeah. Here we go!
Dead mules. Yeah. Did I talk about this in the episode, or was that just in the preamble?
Yeah, you mentioned it very briefly at the end of the last episode, but here are the dead mules. So you should probably reiterate that point.
Right. So the issue... basically, someone asked Robert Jordan about writing Southern material, and he basically said, because he wrote the under a different pen name, he wrote some early American era Southern literature, right? And he's like, in the Southern novel, you always got to have a dead mule. I don't know if that's a reference to one of his other books or what. He's like, I've got to include them somewhere in the Wheel of Time. And so in an interview, he said that he'd managed to include dead mules in the prologue for A Memory of Light. And so here is the place where the dead mules appear. So this, again, seems to be evidence that the Galad POV at least was written probably more by Jordan than by Sanderson. Because if he wrote the dead mules in the prologue, he probably wrote this scene.
Much nodding.
Yes. So that's the whole point of that, as I wanted to say, is this feels like it feels Jordan-esque to me.
Yes, it does. And that gives us a strong sense of we're not completely blowing smoke up our own asses. Like, no, it is more Jordanian.
Unlike the next two POVs, which feel very Sanderson to me. And there's a lot of evidence, especially in the last POV, because there's so much reuse of Stormlight Archive stuff. I'll point that out as we get to it. Specifically, like Tien is a reused character name, and they talk about cooks and stuff like that. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then the next thing I have is that you can tell that Galad and Elaine are related because he wants a good bath. He's walking through the thing and he's like, I just want a bath. And I'm like, okay, so he's half sibling to Elaine, right? Their shared parent is their dad, which means that Tarangale was also a bath person.
I mean, it might just be having been raised in a palace where you can get a bath at any time with no work whatsoever.
No, it's definitely epigenetic. This has to be genetic. There's no way it's cultural. Absolutely not.
God. It's not like the only other person we know who loves bath is related to them or anything, Moraine.
See?
Damodred,
See?
right? Same last name as Galad,
point.
Damodred.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The Damodreds fucking love.
Yeah, nobody else in this entire world likes baths. Only this one family has invented baths, and it's an important part of their particular family experience. That's the simplest explanation I can think of.
Everyone else just does bucket scrubs and is fine with it.
Yeah, or saunas.
Yeah, well, sweat tents. Woo!
Not me. No, thank you. I've done enough saunas. I know I don't like them.
It's a very particular way. Well, I've never done the sauna where you're getting scraped, right? I feel like that's the difference, is they're scraping the grime off as they sweat.
I just can't deal with being overheated, so I don't care what you do or don't do to my skin. It's the being overheated inside my skin that is the problem.
I think they work really well because it's cold at night, and so you can if you get overheated, you step outside and just get frozen by the cold night.
And I know the amazing tingling, rushing adrenaline sensation of going from a sweating hot room into a water bath, a cold water bath.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it. I know how it feels, but I have such sensory issues with being overheated that nah. But I know that they are in so many ways a superior way of dealing with your health and your cleanliness, and there's a good reason why they're so popular around the world.
I do like a good jump into a hot tub and then a cold pool. I've done that a bunch when I've had access to hot tubs more than saunas. So that can be fun. Same sort of idea where you get yourself sweating and then you jump and you get sort of the shock to your system to cool yourself down.
I don't like transitions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's like transition therapy.
yeah, like I know what it feels like. I've done it enough times to know what I'm missing out on. I just can't we just be moderate?
They're talking about stopping at midday, but they're way past midday because they've totally lost track of time and they expected to be out of the swamp before midday.
Yeah, and Galad explains that he's planning on taking them to some estates he owns in Andor, even though Andor is not broadly friendly to the Children of the Light. He's like, but I have a couple of estates we can go to and hang out.
It's like, I know somebody who might have
We'll go to my country estate.
Yeah,
We'll go to my house on the lake. It's just like, okay, fucking 1%er.
He does this whole like, is Rand al'Thor the Dragon Reborn? Is he a puppet of the Tower? Well, he's better be the Dragon Reborn because it's clear that the last battle is coming. So, essentially, in my mind, he's like, well, got to put our money on on Rand al'Thor as the Dragon Reborn because this is clearly the land is breaking.
Yeah, and I appreciate having someone think through the questions around Rand in like a kind of unique way. Like most people are like, they just don't want to believe because they don't want it to be the end of the world. But Galad is very critically being like, someone is the Dragon Reborn at this point. Is it al'Thor? Let's critically analyze it, because most people are just like, well, if the Dragon's reborn, it's clearly al'Thor. And Galad's like, well, let's separate these assumptions and actually examine them on their own merits, then reach a conclusion. And I appreciate that.
Of course, then I love is like, but that doesn't mean he couldn't still be controlled by the Aes Sedai.
Well, given how much Rand spends stressing about worrying about being controlled by the Aes Sedai, I mean, that's not a bad take. Like, the Aes Sedai are all up in there.
Yeah, I mean, Moraine, Codswain, right? Like, he's had a lot of land fear.
Yeah. Again, it's just like, I love how Galad is, for all that he's normally a very binary black and white thinker, he's also like, maybe there's some nuance to these assumptions that we could tease out.
That's what making Galad such a good character is that he is adding nuance into his worldview.
Yeah.
And that's something you don't get from someone who's normally a black and white. That's his journey, right? That's his character arc, is to go from a black and white thinker to someone who has nuance and can compromise and can work with Perrin and be involved in the last battle and be a hero, even when maybe he's not doing it under his ideal circumstances.
Yeah. And they get on out of the bog and into the frying pan.
Galad sighed in relief, relishing the thought of being out in the open again. He stepped from the trees. Only then did an enormous force of troops begin to appear, climbing over a rise directly to his right.
Just like very cinematic levels of timing there.
And these are the questioners, right? The less troopy troops. I'm always like, couldn't you just aren't they the worst troops? Like, the questioners suck. You could just take them down.
Well, I think it's the questioners and all of the other children who didn't know how they needed to split when Galad did the thing. I'm pretty sure this is more than just the questioners. Because again, it's very the parallels between Galad and Egwene with the way that their orders are splitting down the middle. There's so many parallels there. So I'm pretty sure that the bulk of all the children went with the questioner contingent.
Well, and also the larger number were foot soldiers, not wearing the white of children, but instead the simple brown leathers, Amadicians, likely provided by the Shan-Chan. So there's a huge force of Shan-Chan Amadicians there.
Right, not even children of any variety.
Yeah, just archers ready to shoot them down if they fight back. So of course the questioners don't have their own troops. They borrowed them from the Shan-Chan.
Naturally, because they are the worst troops.
Yep, they really are.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
10,000 fresh troops, right? And he's got his like 6,000 to 7,000
who are all tired and exhausted, and
and most of those are 3,000 to 4,000 children and 6,000 to 8,000 foot. Half of those with bows. So you've got 3,000, 4,000 people with bows to go up against they just mow them down.
I mean, they are cavalry, so they would take a lot of those archers down with them.
But there's troops and another cavalry.
The Shan-Chan and the questioners are happy to throw those Amadicians into the meat grinder. It's like, it's fine. They don't care.
I love this interaction. You are a traitor, child Bornhald. Yes, I suppose it could be perceived that way. Where he's like, but that's empathy, right? He's like, I understand how you could see it that way. You're wrong, but I can understand how you could see it that way.
Yeah, right. Which is like, yeah. I love Galad. Galad really does not take it personally, even when other people do. And then Asinawa rolls up being the worst, basically being like guilty before proof, right? Because Galad keeps being like, well, I'm not a dark friend and you need to treat me a certain kind of way because I'm not a dark friend. And Asinawa's like, dark friends deserve no mercy. It's like, but you haven't even tried him yet.
No.
Even by your own stupid laws, you haven't even done the thing yet. You're already behaving as though the judgment has been done. Like, why does anyone take you seriously? You are such a hypocrite. It hurts.
And then he gets caught in the trap of being like, you're all dark friends. And he's like, all 7,000 troops, half the force of the Children of the Light are dark friends. And he's like, well, they're led by dark friends. And it's like this very squirrely, like...
And they haven't been killing entire villages for having harbored one dark friend. We're going to murder this 6-year-old child because they had a dark friend in their village. Like, it's just... The hypocrisy and the lust for violence that these people have is just so inhuman. It's so unnerving. And then Asuna was like, yeah, when you killed Valda in front of all of us as witnesses under the light, clearly you drew on the powers of shadow to overcome the light. And it's just like, that was the most sacred and correct duel you could possibly have asked for.
Right. I saw the dragon's fang sprout on your forehead. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Like, you lying piece of
This
shit.
is like a medieval Inquisition trial. Like, what? Come on.
Uh-huh.
They consorted with the devil. I saw them at their devil's rights. Fucking the devil with their cats. What were you doing at the devil's rights, sir? What? Anyway.
At which point Galad goes, so this was a duel fought under the light, and if the shadow is stronger, there's no way if the shadow could be stronger than the light in that circumstance. So even if I did sprout the devil's horn on my, forehead or whatever, I should have still lost because it was a fight under the light if I was wrong.
Yeah.
Therefore, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, like you're either denying the light or
Yeah.
you're lying.
Right.
So.
So which one is it? Oh, you're lying. Well, both, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Asunawa has definitely drunk his own Kool-Aid,
Mm-hmm.
Not quite as bad as the Prophet, but, in that vein.
In that vein, totally. And then I love this reiteration, my mother is dead, right? So the whole basis for this fight, which is so funny, is that his mother's dead, which she's not.
I mean, legally, she's kind of dead.
And he did rape her, and admitted to that, which is enough.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I wish he'd stuck to that more as like, oh, he killed my mother. Because there's that moment when she's revealed later, and I wish there'd been a little self-reflection to be like, should I have killed Valda? Maybe there is. I think there is a moment where...
No, there is.
There is a moment.
He goes, yeah, no, there is. There is. But yeah, it would have been fun if he'd lingered more on the violence was done to my mother rather than my mother is currently no longer alive.
Yeah.
And then he proposes to, much like Egwene, he proposes like, here's how we can, come back together as, brothers separated for a time rather than killing each other. And I'm just like, Egwene, you married the wrong brother.
Yeah. So true. So true.
If you had to marry anyone, you seriously married the wrong brother.
It is so funny, though, that she did kind of marry someone who could be considered a brother of Rand, right? Because they both have the same brother, right? Yeah. So if you share a brother, are they not brothers in a way? Right? They're family for sure. Of some kind.
If you have multiple in-laws, don't they just cancel out? Multiple in-laws in that equation, you could just cancel them out entirely and just say brother.
Yeah, that she basically, Egwene's whole relationship was to crush on 3 brothers. That she went from Rand to Galad to Gawain.
Y'all need a bigger gene pool. Yeah, so Galad acts like Perrin and says, I will submit with caveats. Mm-hmm. Basically trading himself for his people. Very much what Perrin was kind of negotiating in book 4 with the White Cloaks.
And what he negotiates later with Galad, right? There's a lot of parallels between what's happening here and the relationship that Perrin puts himself basically in the situation that Galad is in, which, maybe is one of the reasons why Galad has a bunch of empathy towards him later, right?
Right. Like, well, that's what I would have done. Yeah, and then he says, the dragon reborn walks the land, to which Asinawa says, heresy, to which Galad says, yeah, and true. What are you going to do about it? It might be heresy, but it's also true. So.
And I think that's the difference between Galad and the other White Cloaks, is like they stop with, oh, it's heresy, Therefore, we're just going to ignore it. Whereas he's like, yeah, but even if you don't like it, the truth is still the truth.
Right, like you can deny gravity or a house on fire all you want, but it's still going to like affect your meat suit. It's gonna happen.
Right. You're still gonna fall.
Like you can not believe in fire all you want, but it will burn you.
And so Galad, in order to stop bloodshed, submits, right?
And orders his 7,000 to let him be taken, beaten, dragged out of sight, presumably under threat of being murdered at any moment. He orders them to let that happen.
Which they don't.
They do for a day.
A day. Yeah, but they were, yeah. But when next we see them, Asanal is dead.
Yeah, but he gets pulled off of his horse and stripped of his armor, beaten. He promises he will never lie about being a dark friend because, that's who he is. And he gets beaten into unconsciousness. And then, when we join him next, his soldiers decided that they were unwilling to tolerate that and fixed it while he was out cold. I think there's also some in and out. He does get tortured, but it's all off screen, right? He does mention that there was some torture sessions in there, but more or less, he just passes out and then comes to with Trom being like, hey, we decided we didn't like Kasunawa. So.
So goodbye, everybody. Which, for such a shithead, I would have really liked to see him get killed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Couladin. How dare you,
How dare you kill him off screen?
Die, graphically on page, please.
I want my revenge.
And with that, we move to creepy, icky.
Seth's
about to have fun.
Fain. I love Patton Fain. I really wish there was more of him in the series, right? I think he made such a good, active, chaotic, anti-hero, but anti-bad guy, fights everybody, has all this power, and I think he could have... There's so much potential with Fain in terms of the structure of the world and everything.
It's amazing. He's such a fascinating character. And Sanderson clearly really liked writing Fain. Sanderson, I think, has the same sort of hands rubbing together glee that you have about getting to be in the Fain space.
And as much as I don't like the way he killed Fain, I think he thought it was going to be really clever.
Sure. Yeah. He might have flubbed on that, but I think he enjoyed writing him nonetheless.
Totally. All right, should I do a creepy voice?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Okay, fine. Like you need your arm twisted.
The creature that had once been Patton Fain walked down the side of a hill. The brown weeds grew in broken patches like the scrub on the chin of a beggar. The sky was black, a tempest. He liked that, though he hated the one who caused it. Hatred. It was the proof that he still lived, the one emotion left, the only emotion. It was all there could be, consuming, thrilling, beautiful, warming, violent hatred, wonderful. It was the storm that gave him strength, the purpose that drove him. Althor would die by his hand, and perhaps after that the Dark One. Wonderful.
Give that man a award from the appropriate category. I don't even know which category.
Those
an
are
Oscar,
fun.
an Emmy, a Tony. I don't know what the right one is, but it's good. It's good. It's so creepy because it's you really capture the there's 7 different people all competing for the man's inner voice.
Not that I can't be consistent in my accent. It's that I'm representing 7 different people. Yes, very good.
Entirely on purpose.
Entirely
yes.
on purpose. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I just love him, right? And then because he's merging with Mashadar and there's that just insanity and and Mashin Shin, right? There's all 3 of those elements in there. So I get to add a little bit of the Mashin Shin voice that I like to do, the screaming, the
Sing your
screams, wonderful screams or screams. All that. Right? And then in that consuming, thrilling, beautiful, warming, there's that same cadence of Mashin Shin in his voice. It's so he's fun.
Real scary.
It's real scary.
And yeah, he is in his most feral state, I would say. He's really like Max Ferrell at this point, wandering through deeper and deeper into the blight, kind of gathering up his thrall army. He's reached the bear knife phase of his relationship with the dagger. He doesn't use the sheath anymore.
He's really, his body, he is a seed of Mashadar, right? The hate that is Mashadar, right? It was tied to Shadar Logoth, and when Rand destroyed Shadar Logoth, he destroyed Mashadar, right? Because it couldn't exist outside the place.
Except for the little bit in the dagger.
Except for the bit in the dagger and the soul of Mordeth, who got into Padden Fain, right? And you need both, because one is the mind and one is the power.
Right, yeah, because you got Mordeth and Machin Shin. Both of those creatures from Arad Hall are both inhabiting Fain. They're not the same thing.
Mashadar.
Yeah.
So Machin Shin is also in there, and that's what, there's also, like, then this whole problem, the reason that he wasn't 100% taken over by Mordeth and didn't become Mordeth and became something else is because he already had this, like, taint of the Dark One in him.
Yeah. Which I think, and he got to Machin Shin before he got to Mashadar. Yeah, he got trapped in the ways early.
No,
and
after.
No?
Because he followed them to the ways.
He gets the dagger.
He gets the dagger first, and then they go through the Waygate afterwards, and he follows them through. So
Okay.
Mashadar protects him from Machin Shin, but there's definitely an influence there. If anything, he influences Machin Shin, right? Like
Truly. Machin Shin was trapped in there with him.
Yeah.
That's how that went.
That is, yeah, exactly. But yeah, he's become the seed, essentially, of Mashadar, right? He's become, and so he is, and we see it later, he's looking for a place to essentially put down roots and become another city and start to grow again.
Yeah, he's planktonic evil right now. He's drifting around looking for a place to land and actually settle in roots. And he's heading north because there's a lot of bad vibes up there that might make for fertile ground, I think, is why he's headed there.
Well, I mean, I think the main reason is he says, I'm not following Rand al'Thor anymore. I know he's going to be here at this time.
That too, yeah.
And so I'm just going to wait for him until, I know where the last battle is going to happen. I know he's got to show up at Shale Ghul. So I'm just going to park my ass near Shale Ghul and be ready for it when he shows up so I can grab him.
Yeah, that is actually why he's going there. And he's also just killed a worm casually.
Yes, right.
On his way, just for funsies, just a little recreational worm slaughter.
Which I think is just to show how dangerous he is, right? Like,
exactly.
The only other, I mean, if we talk about River of Souls, which is not necessarily in this book, but we'll have to talk about when we're actually going to read that, we may have to do that between books. Because that's when Damodred goes and slays a worm and gets the chalice.
Yeah. So, yeah, contrasting Damodred going in there and having like a big epic power battle versus Fain with his dagger just going in there and shredding the thing. I was like, oh no, you're so much more powerful than
Right.
the Forsaken. Oh, dear.
Well, and I think his touch is just poison to anything that's related to the Dark One, right? He just has this ability to corrupt anything. We see him with his corrupt Trollocs, which we saw the Trollocs get their pox and boils when they went into Mashadar, into Shadar Logoth, and get touched by Mashadar, right?
No, we saw that on the islands in the ways, right? When they were all
that's
boiled
right.
in stone, basically, from the old traps.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so that's, oh man, I always wonder how much of Fain is Mashadar, how much of him is Machin Shin, how much is the Dark One. Like, he's a bubbling cauldron of evils.
He's all evils and none.
Yeah.
He's the Amerlin of evil.
The Amerlin of evil. Yeah, and that's why I just wish he was more effective. I wish there was more moments where he popped up. Like, he creates a little bit of chaos.
Yeah, he should have been a bigger factor in, like, oh no, there's actually a third axis on this battle.
Exactly.
We thought this was a binary axis, and no, there's actually a full-blown third party that is neither good nor evil. Like, the Finn kind of almost fulfilled that function, like, mentally, right? The concept of that they are aside from the
Sure.
good evil thing, but they also don't have nearly as much, like, load-bearing plot hanging on them as Fain does.
Right, and there's so much of, he's involved with Matt, he's involved with Rand, he's such a, he's there in the beginning. It's really set up for him to be important at the last battle. The Finn, they come in a little bit later. They're not quite as big of a Chekhov's gun. They do a lot.
Yeah, less of a Chekhov's gun. They're like a Chekhov's like little pistol, whereas Fain is like a Chekhov's bazooka.
And the Finn kind of show up in the last battle. Perrin sees them fighting in his, like, when he's flicker.
But they're not fighting anyone in the real world.
No.
They're just fighting like other creatures on other planes. Like, it's confusing. It's fine. I like it. I like the weirdness of it. But like, yeah, they just don't have the same direct threat aspect as Fain does.
So yeah, what we there's a big long sequence where he corrupts Myrddraal and Trollocs, who approach them thinking they found a sucker because it's a lone dude in the middle of the,
Right, and then he eats them all for breakfast.
Right.
He leaves the Fade behind. He only takes the Trollocs. The Fade he just leaves dead.
But he's essentially sucking the souls out of them, right? The Mashadar, at least as far as I know, the Mashadar in Shadar Logoth was made up of the souls of the citizens of the city. And then anyone who wanders in, right? And like it grows with souls. And so Fain is essentially stealing Trolloc souls.
Right.
Which in and of themselves are kind of stolen souls, right? Like there's a huge, the theory that every Trolloc created steals a soul that would have been reincarnated, right? And the whole reason you have Myrddraal is because those are the souls of the channelers who get stolen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's why the percentage of Myrddraal matches the percentage of channelers.
Well, maybe we can headcanon that when Fain, gets them away from the Dark One, that means that once this life surface is over, they actually are freed again. That's, part of how he's anti-evil, is because, the souls are no longer...
And not that he ate the souls?
Well, whatever he does with them, but just that the Dark One no longer has that hold. He actually can, fully break them away from the Dark One into whatever he's doing. But, he actually can negate the part where the Dark One stole them. He's stealing them to his side.
Yeah, that's out of the pot into the fire for sure. I don't know if I want to be part of Mashadar. That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably not a whole lot better.
The screaming souls of Mashadar? Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah. He probably won't let them go after a period of service. That wouldn't be on brand.
Which Samael was the one who ended up in Shadar Logoth, who Rand didn't kill but got sucked up by Mashadar, right? So I'm going to headcanon that he actually got killed when Rand cleansed the source, because his soul was part of...
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or at least he was eliminated totally at that point. Whatever remnant of soul was part of Mashadar.
Yeah, I don't think the Dark One was able to retrieve Samael at any point, because, goes into Mashadar and then gets Balefire, or not Balefired, but, cleansing eliminated.
Because I want to say it's a Jordan answered a question where he basically said, where someone's like, hey, could Samael come back? And he was like, no, his soul was corrupted, and any soul that was brought back would be likewise corrupted. And therefore, there's no way for the Dark One to bring him back, because he is touched by Mashadar, and that actually affected his soul before it killed him.
So yeah, whatever Fain is doing is definitely that. Though, in the case of Trollocs, they were already tainted, twisted souls. So, again, frying pan, fire, whatever.
Right. But yeah, they become his slaves, right? And that's how he forms his army, is anyone who attacks him, it's a zombie army. You attack it, you become part of it. And it gets bigger and stronger. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and then Fain can get through whatever army he needs to get through in order to get to Rand. And, what is it? Stab through the eye, open at the gut, and consumed by handfuls while drinking his blood, as one treats friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. All right, buddy.
Oh, and he leaves the Myrddraal because his touch instantly kills Myrddraal.
Oh, right. It's not a choice. It's just a fact.
It's dead. Totally. Already. He touched it. So it's completely fried.
Right. Yeah. Because he's like, oh, it's too bad. I have a few nails I would have liked to put to use on this thing.
Right.
You're lucky,
Which
Myrddraal.
is a great reference back to the Myrddraal hanging in the door, right?
Yes. The door draw.
Door draw. But I love the fact that Myrddraal, which are notoriously hard to kill, and even when you do kill them, they thrash around until sunrise or sunset. And it's but one touch from Fain and they're just out, gone, totally. No, the connection is severed. They are no longer part of this world.
Yeah. Yeah, from being the scariest creature of all to being insta-killed at a touch, how the mighty have fallen as Fain has become an antagonist.
And that reminds me, verify that my friends are not like Fain before I let them hang out in private. I thought you were supposed to bring food to eat, not eat your friends.
Then we head to the last POV of the prologue, which is a one-off Borderlander character who manages to be a lovely little vignette story on his own. It feels so Sanderson, and I'm not even mad about it.
No, and this is an extremely Sanderson. For me, I feel like there's a bunch of little nods to his other writing in here that makes me go, oh, this is a very Sanderson POV. Everything from the names to like the way it's really important to have a good cook, right? That's a huge theme in Stormlight Archive, is like, how does Kaladin rescue his teammates from their depression and nihilism? He finds someone who's a good cook and gets them tasty food. And that's enough to like shake them out of like nihilism about the world is going to end and there's no point, right? It's like food makes a difference.
Yeah, no, I remember there's a great book and then movie adaptation of Shackleton's trip to the South Pole or to Antarctica. And I don't remember if it's in the book, but I remember in the movie when he's putting together his crew, he specifically makes sure to get a good cook. Like, I remember there's like in the little vignettes as he gets each of the crew members, like getting the cook is important. And the cook has a great moment like later on in the story. He's a very like important character for like the comic relief of the whole thing. But yeah, I remember reading this being like, hey, that was Shackleton's idea. That happened in the real world. The concept of like, you need a good cook because otherwise this Antarctic mission is not going to work. Yeah, it's very important.
Well, I feel like just on ships in general, it's like there's the captain, the first mate, and then the cook, and then everybody else.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not really going to read us into this one. I don't think there's really anything particularly.
No, yeah. I don't think there's not a good voice to do here.
So yeah, we're with this Malenarin Rai, however you want to call it.
Malenarin is how the audiobook says it.
So he's been the commander of this tower for 10 years. You know, this is the fires of Gondor are lit, essentially, right? This is that moment.
This is the fires of Gondor are lit?
Right, yeah.
That's more what this is. There's a real question mark going on.
It really feels to me that the Dark One watched The Lord of the Rings and went, okay, no.
Yeah, the Dark One sat down, did a full movie binge, and was like taking notes.
Yeah, taking notes. It was like, we need to interrupt the chain of fires, the signal fires that are going to tell them we're coming, right? Like, that's really important that they don't have that information.
Yeah, like we cannot have Aragorn busting through the doors. Like, no, we cannot have that. That will rally the troops too hard.
There's a reference here. He's talking about Bariga, a merchant who was bringing his caravan to the tower to trade. That guy actually appears in the epilogue of this book. He's the one, he shows up and he runs into Aiel with strange red veils and pointed teeth, and then it cuts. So he shows up to the tower trying to trade and is killed by evil Aiel.
Oh, wow. Cool. That's fun. Little tiny itsy bitsy callbacks to things that barely existed. I love it.
Yeah. He mentions he's on his way in this chapter, and then he shows up in the epilogue.
Nice. Which makes sense because this tower clearly falls, right? So it makes sense that the merchant who was planning on coming also meets a grisly end, albeit a slightly different one.
Yeah, so he's thinking about getting him drunk and, maybe recruiting him for a year. Like, it's just it's a little bit of a slice of life for the Borderlanders where, like, death is a constant threat, but you still, like, have to get life done and still live life and still have these, like, need to trade with merchants and, keep your men on rotation and all that kind of stuff and have manhood ceremonies.
This is one of my favorite parts about Sanderson coming into the series was that he started giving us these slice of life things in places that, like, we know that this was happening the whole time. Like, the Borderlands have been fleshed out in so many respects, but never this respect. He's not inventing anything. He's just writing in all the details that we've been, vaguely headcanoning. And it's one of my favorite parts about what he brought to concluding this massive series.
And it can feel a little fan fiction-y sometimes if done poorly, but I think he does it well enough that it mostly just falls into my headcanon really well.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot about his son in this chapter as well, right? Like,
yeah. preparing for his son's manhood ceremony, and then the chapter ends with, I guess you're a man 3 days early because you are not going to live until your actual birthday.
Well, and also because you made that, you willingly made that choice to sacrifice your own life so that someone who you felt whose life had more value than yours could live, right?
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's the most manly thing a Borderlander can do. So give the man his sword, even if it is 3 days early.
Very a tale of two cities, right? It's a better thing I have ever done, right? We're going to his own death to save the life of another person.
Right, which again, to your point about like death is constantly present in the Borderlands, right? Like a child who's only about to turn 14 is like, well, I mean, I've done the math and clearly my classmate should get out ahead of me, right? Like it's they've been thinking like that their whole lives.
There is that interesting, I've seen this a lot in old war movies too, where I mean, it's the whole premise of Saving Private Ryan, right? Why are they saving Private Ryan? All of his brothers are dead. He's the last surviving family member. So it's worth it to go in and save him because his mother, and they say here, his mother's had 3 other of her sons die. Like, it's worth it to save the last one. And I'm like, is it? But like, what if someone only had 1 kid? Like, we don't do that for them.
Look, the math of sacrifice is not something that you can really like make the equation balance logically, because then you're into this weird hierarchy of whose life is worth more. And
right,
it's just weird. It's weird,
to me.
Messy thing. But yeah, I mean, people that go into those sorts of life and death careers, like they have the right to figure out those equations on their own and not justify it to the rest of us,
I guess. Yeah.
Ugh.
There's a pretty good description of the tower and the fact that like the 4th floor is a trap because there is no way from the 4th to the 5th floor. You have to go back down to the 2nd, or there's no way from the 3rd to the 4th. So you have to go down to the 2nd to skip over the 3rd. So and go like outside on a like rickety, do it on the outside of the building so you can be shot at. So it's like, there's this whole description of like how the defense is, it kind of helps you picture how the defense is going to go as they're getting swarmed, right? And how they're going to murder just lots and lots and lots of these Trollocs, but it isn't really going to matter because there are so many of them that they're going to get overrun. Right.
Yeah. It's like being on a tower in a flood. Like, you can keep backing up, but eventually you're going to get overrun. But again, Sanderson's so good at making me see things. Like he's helping me visualize the engineering of this, and kind of reminds me of a little bit of early descriptions of the Stone of Tyr, right? There's all these like levels of fallback position. There's not just one line of defense. Like every hallway is the next step backwards on that line of defense. Like you don't get this without the hallways flowing in blood.
Yeah, they might take it, but they're going to pay for every inch that they take.
And also, I mean, there's more getting into the like everyday of the Borderlanders, right? Like they live in architecture that is that intense all the time. That's what it means to be a Borderlander soldier. It's not just horseback riding and honor codes. It's also like having to hike up the outer stairs because that's how the building is structured.
And killing Trollocs, right? You got this guy, Jargon. He's got 50 knots, 50 Trolloc kills.
A lifetime of killing Trollocs, and he's up to 50. And you're like, I'm pretty sure Lan has killed 50, like, in the course of these books.
Oh, yeah, easily.
You know, this is a regular mere mortal kind of kill count.
But also then take that out of the context of the, like, ridiculousness of these books where they're just slaughtering Trollocs left and right. Where it's like, oh, yeah, you go out, and if you fight in a battle and you kill a Trolloc or 2, that's a big deal, right? Like... And to do that 50 different times, like, you are at the front of a lot of battles, killing a lot of Trollocs and a lot of different moments in history, and you've survived a ton of attacks since he was 14, right? Like, that is a veteran of many, 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 many battles.
Yeah, that is an unstoppable force. He has a proven track record of being literally unstoppable in a world where Lan is not what everyone else is measuring against.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and then you think back to like how many soldiers do people actually kill on the battlefield? Like if you hear numbers in the teens, that person was a monster in actual battle, right? Like you're lucky to kill 1 or 2, right? If that's kind of how battle works, where like
right, the hand-to-hand combat with sharp objects situation, arrows at relatively close range,
right.
Maybe a horse if you're lucky. These guys, they take a horse into battle, but it's hard to live through fighting a creature that is 150% your size and has more weapons than you, and to do that however many dozens of times he's done it. It's like, okay, so this man will not be falling until the very end of the battle, clearly. And yeah, so they get a flash from a different tower, right? The beacons of Gondor are lit, and they go for confirmation, and there is no confirmation, and that is a problem.
Which one would assume it's because they were overrun, and they got one single flash out before they were fully overrun, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming as well. Someone desperately managed to get the signal out, and they hoped that that would be enough, and unfortunately it was not because they weren't able to confirm.
Well, not so much that as the tower to the south was also overrun.
That too. Yeah. But I'm just imagining like someone did get the signal out thinking they were doing something good. And then it's like, oh, all of that desperation that could have been the whole last 40 minutes of an action movie for nothing. Because, yeah, the southern tower was overrun first.
And we never see the runners show up anywhere.
No, we assume that they all get eaten on the road.
Because they're going to the southern tower, right? And so there's a bunch of Trollocs waiting for them.
Right, so Keemlin does this self-sacrifice thing for his friend, but his friend gets absolutely chewed up.
One would assume.
Doesn't make it.
His friend is murdered as well. Yeah.
They probably both die within an hour of each other, just separated by several dozen miles.
And so, yeah, they get the flash from the northwest tower. They try and flash the south tower, the next one along the chain. It, of course, doesn't work because they're both probably overrun. And so, basically, he's like, he pretty much knows what's going on. I think he's like, oh, well, the only reason
his spidey senses are all pinging.
He's like, oh, okay, we're fucked, right? Like,
we have a lot of safeguards to make sure that this confusion doesn't escalate, and the confusion is escalating. So
he sends 3 runners, I think, is my understanding. Yeah, because he says three messengers and 1 of light, 3 on foot and 1 of light.
He's desperately trying to do his part to get the message out, but yeah, it probably doesn't work.
He also is prepared for Drakkar. He's like, get some archers up on the roof in case there's flying things coming. So he's smart, right? He's doing all the right things, but he's just totally outmanned. He's got like 250 soldiers fighting against thousands and thousands and thousands of Trollocs.
Yeah, no, it's not even really a last stand. There is no stand to be made. There's so few of them compared to the onrushing force.
And he even thinks, like, if he'd been the one making an assault, he'd have done anything he could to sneak around and take out one of the southern towers first. That was the best way to make sure no messages got back to the capital. And it's like, yeah, that's what happened. You're spot on.
He knows exactly what's happening. All of his instincts are pointed the right direction. And yeah, he's simply in a losing position. That's all he's got. And he thinks about like the queen and the larger situation in the world, and also all of his instincts are correct. The dragon has been reborn. The queen believes the storm is coming, right? Like every single conclusion he makes on minimal information, he is spot on about. And that's how you know he's going to die, because you can't be that correct and live out the POV.
And there's some really good foreshadowing with like the darkness is advancing, and beneath the darkness is the force of Trollocs that you can't see. And like, again, Sanderson is so visual. You can see this darkness and the representation of the forces of evil flooding into the Borderlanders and starting the last battle. And like, you really are like, this is in a lot of ways the first assault of the last battle, right? This is the first time the Dark One's forces are surging forward. Like, it's not the Gap, which makes sense, right? The beginning of this prologue, everything else was like Rand being Rand and figuring his shit out, and like the Forsaken, like. But at this moment, the last battle has started, and because we're going back in time, a lot of this is occurring while Rand is figuring his shit out, right?
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. Shit is hitting the fan. This is the moment of the very first particle of fecal material making actual contact with the rotating blade. We've been watching it come for a while, but this is the actual point of contact.
We've been smelling the farts, right? But like, this is where the shit's hitting the fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he thinks about how the messengers are going to go to the next town, and if that didn't stand, the boys would continue on all the way to the capital if needed. And I'm just like, I don't think they made it past the first tower.
I don't think so either. It would be a major missed opportunity for Sanderson to have written in the notes that he had them get through, and then to not have a joyful reunion scene or a tearful reunion scene or something. No, they have to have died. Otherwise, there's no payoff. And then, yeah, his son comes up into the room and he's like, excuse me, I was having a moment of feeling good about sending you away. And now you're making me feel weird about that.
And so, yeah, Tian, the name of this character, Tian, is remarkably close to Tien, Tien, the brother of Kaladin in the Stormlight Archive, who is a small, slight boy who gets recruited into the army and is killed pretty early on.
Ah, I see.
And that's the driving force behind a lot of Kaladin's guilt, because he was supposed to protect him and everything like that. So like Tien in both, like it's almost the same character in both in Stormlight Archive and here is this naming this small slight boy who dies in battle at too young of an age. Yeah, it's again just one of those evident things that make me go, oh yeah, Sanderson definitely wrote this. Like there's no doubt that like this character is something that like he had, because he was writing Stormlight Archive in his head long before he actually wrote anything down.
Oh, sure.
And there's no doubt that like some of the ideas that later got into Stormlight Archive got used here in his last battle sequences.
Yeah, it'd be impossible to completely scrub all that out, even if he had wanted to, which I doubt he did, because why would you?
So it's hard for me to be like, oh, this is Tien, the boy from Stormlight Archive. That's cute.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So yeah, Malenarin is like, what a manly decision of you. Let's have your manhood ceremony now. And then, yeah, we get a Borderlander manhood ceremony.
Athlon is letting me know that he had already written The Way of Kings Prime by the time he started writing this stuff. So Way of Kings Prime was when he wrote down, like, essentially what we all did is like in our 20s is we wrote a really bad novel with all the like ideas in it, you know, and then he wrote a universe based off that really bad novel and said no one can ever read this really bad novel because all the characters changed, a lot of stuff isn't canon, like this, you know, it's he totally pulled it apart and brutalized it to create the books that he created now. I think he actually did publish Wheel of Kings Prime though, right? That's the thing, is like he did publish it and let people read it, but I started to, and so much is different to the books, it's just very confusing because like the characters have different names and you know it's like he mixed some stuff up and it's not worth reading. Oh, Michael and Kate read it. That's cute. I didn't know that. It's on YouTube. Interesting. Yeah, I never really got that into it because I was like, you know what, I just want the original. I want the actual story. I don't need his. Same thing with one of his books. He wrote drafts of it online. And so he had people basically every draft was published and people were reading along, and he was crowd publishing the editing of his book. And so there's actually a lot of versions of it out there, or there used to be a lot more, because he was doing it all in public and the book was free to download. It only later got picked up by a publisher and put out there. So he was like trying a different way of publishing books.
Interesting. I like that he's not afraid to experiment with really unconventional publishing.
No, he's really not. And eventually he got good enough that he was basically able to bully them into doing Warbreaker. Sorry, Warbreaker is the one that he did in drafts in public. And then later he's able to bully them and be like, he's like bullying Audible, right? Like,
which I love that. Like, I have my issues with Sanderson, but like, please, somebody bully Audible.
Totally.
And so yeah, all the men on the tower really get a lot of oomph and warmth and solidarity from being part of this manhood ritual. It's kind of like Galad giving his little speech to his White Cloaks, right? Like, we're in a really shitty situation, but a good speech, a good moment, a good like leaning on our order and our canon and our way of being. It's going to strengthen our hearts. We're going to deal with this shitty situation with a little more cheer.
Well, and I like the ceremony because it very much mirrors the spit into the Sightblinder's eye ceremony of the Aiel, right? How long do you fight? Until my last breath joins the northern winds.
Yes.
When do you stop watching? Never. Yeah,
it is very like cousins to the Aiel in terms of their hardcore anti-evil. Yeah, spit in Sightblinder's eye. Until my breath joins the northern winds. It's good.
This would actually be a pretty good, like, you know how we've done like the First Sisters ceremony and stuff like that. This would be, or like and marriage ceremonies get adopted a fair amount out of Wheel of Time. This one could be adopted pretty well. It's short.
Yeah, maybe the Black Tower guys would incorporate that. They always do like a pinning ceremony at WotCon, which I've managed to watch like most of the pinning ceremonies at WotCon. Somehow I'm always in the atrium when they do that, and it's so cool.
Because they do it around the sing-along, I think.
No, maybe that's it. Yeah, they do it in like, the half hour before the sing along. And I'm always, like first one there because I will not be missing that sing along if both my legs and my larynx are broken.
So basically, right after the ceremony, the Drakkar comes out of the sky and the attack starts.
Yeah, like they clip the belt and boom, the attack. Yeah, right then. Yeah, we will be revisiting that battle sequence later with Iturralda. Iturralda really gives us the chapters on chapters of access to how this battle goes, but you can imagine how this battle goes. And when we do check in with Iturralda, I do kind of remember back to this and I go, oh, this is what Malenarin and Keemlin were dealing with, except that they didn't have main character status to like help them survive, They
also didn't have a city to retreat into. They didn't have the number of troops. This is an isolated, rock in a sea of the sea of Trollocs seemed endless. Against this foe, the tower would eventually fall. The Trollocs would keep coming, wave after wave. But every man atop the tower knew his duty. They'd kill Shadow Spawn as long as they could, hoping to buy enough time for the messages to do some good. Malenarin was a man of the Borderlanders, same as his father, same as his son beside him. They knew their task. You held until you were relieved. That's all there was to it. Or you die.
It's such a bummer knowing that they are never relieved. Heath Tower is not reclaimed before the end of the last battle. I assume at some point people go to, the tumbled ruins of what was Heath Tower, in the Fourth Age, and they put up a memorial. But, like, these men are never relieved.
Well, and the tower system no longer is needed after the last battle.
Right. Yeah. Again, it's going to be like a nice park with a beautiful memorial to the fallen dead, but it's not going to be, no one's going to come back and relieve them. They're all just going to die. And it's so dismal. What great writing.
It really, yeah. I when I think about the prologue of this book, that's the scene. I always forget that there's more to it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's Heath Tower. That's the part that sticks. Which, again, I just love how characters who we never have seen before and will never see again are able to be the most memorable part of such a rich reading section. It's the characters that have no other history or context that, like, really stick in your brain. It's amazing.
And I think Jordan did a much better job of that in his early books. I feel like in his later books, we got to the point where some of the characters were just, he's like, sure, you've got backstory for them. You're not telling us what it is,
Right. Where Sanderson really admired that, I think, and really like brought that back in a way that, Jordan kind of ran out of steam for that. And Sanderson was like, no. That's like a huge part of why I got into writing in the first place. Let's do this.
Same thing, though. But when I read Sanderson's books, his early books have a lot more of those little minuets in there and like characters I care about. And later on, I feel like, especially in Stormlight Archive, like there's fewer and fewer of those. I can't think of those side characters nearly as much.
Yeah. Well, this is a lot earlier in his writing career. So, yeah. Interesting. So you hear that, aspiring authors? Don't stop doing that. It'll make readers sad.
I think it's just there's a lot of weight of your existing plot and characters, and it's difficult to come up with those moments when you are weighed down by all of this other series that you're written and all this other promises, all the other Chekhov guns, all the other, foreshadowing, all of that stuff needs to, be sort of come around. And so it's harder to introduce new characters and stuff like that. And one of the things I really do like and appreciate about Sanderson taking over is that we got more of that than I think we would have, right? Like, there's no doubt we would not have had the Androl and Pravara that we had without Sanderson, and a few other characters as well. But I think with that, I don't have anything else to say about the prologue. We're ready to jump into the book. Other than that, was a pretty good, succinct prologue, right?
I mean, I wouldn't call it succinct, but it was good.
Yeah.
It was dense. There was a lot that happened. It gets you spun up and ready for a book, right?
It does.
It's very
exciting.
Yeah. Refreshes your memory of all the good stuff.
Yeah, for succinct, I guess that each POV sort of had a purpose and had a few things to say and said them very well, right? Like,
it's a solid start to a new book.
I didn't get to the end of this and go, why did you tell me about those characters? I don't understand. Like,
yeah.
Now, again, am I like a little frustrated with the Perrin and Galad POV and like, are we going to spend a lot of time trying to get them together and reconciled? And is that not my favorite plot line? It's really not.
We're going to need to do some chapter compression to get through that.
But then I love what Perrin does when he gets all superpowered, right? So, there's just a lot of good Perrin in here. to get to.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. It's a good book. And yeah, solid start to it. So yeah, come back next week for, I think you said we need to talk about our chapter compression, but apparently next week we're already starting in on compressing chapters into multi-headers.
Chapter 1 is just a real lightweight chapter. It's pretty short, and it's, let me see if I can bring that up.
But yeah, we got to go through the whole book and work that out.
Encyclopedia Watt is down. That makes me sad. Fortunately, the Internet Archive keeps a snapshot of it.
But yeah, with that, we should probably wrap this up and get on out of here. Thank you everyone so much for listening. As per usual, you're all great. Thank you Patreons. Thank you live listeners. We'll see y'all next week.
Yeah, so all right, recording's on. Is there anything we need to tell? I guess I should tell people my cat has been missing for 2 weeks.
Aww.
I'm really not happy about that. He is an indoor-outdoor cat. We let him out in the mornings, and he always comes back at night for he never misses a meal. You know, there's been a handful of times where he's been gone for one night, you know, but he always comes back the next morning complaining. And so, yeah, it's been about 2 weeks. He went out, and we were actually at a wedding, and people was staying at our house, which usually isn't a problem for him, but I think it's just a coincidence. But he didn't come back that night, and he hasn't come back since. So
That sucks.
And yeah, we put up signs. We've done we contacted all the places. He's chipped, you know, and I think one of the things that's really rough about a cat going missing like this is they do come back so often. Right. You hear stories from people who are like, yep, my cat was gone for 3 weeks. He was gone for 2 months. Like, however long he was gone, he was in somebody's house being taken care of. That's kind of what I have to assume happened at this point. Right. Because nobody's found a body. Knows, you know, he's not the kind of cat that wanders very far. We GPS'd him for a while, and he was like, would stay within a block or two of the house. He does not like this cat that's like wandering for miles and miles and miles. So yeah, I have to assume somebody picked him up and said, oh, look, friendly cat, and that he's going to get out, or he's going to go to the vet at some point and get scanned and brought back to us. But
that sucks in the meantime, though. It really sucks.
It sucks in the meantime because it's just a lot of uncertainty and a lot of, yeah. And just at what point do you stop looking? At what point do I not step outside and go, is he waiting at the door, waiting to be let in? It feels like every time, you know. And so, you know, I've heard the number 3 weeks. A lot of people are like, after about 3 weeks, the cats come back because people get sick of taking care of them. But we're at 2 weeks now. So I'm sorry. That really sucks. Yeah, I don't really have anything. It's August. I had a great party with some people in the woods. My mom is over here at my place for most of the month. She has her cat with her. She's a cat person again. She's very happy about that. It's a very tiny cat. Extremely tiny little cat. But we're going to get a lot of sewing done over the next 3 weeks, which is very exciting. So I guess you guys can all expect to hear over the next few recordings updates about my sewing machine assembly and learning curve process. Ooh, exciting.
Yeah. We're probably going to start working on it tomorrow because they just got here yesterday. So it takes a minute to, you know, settle in and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we're going to go up to the Silet's powwow this weekend, and we've got plans. We're going to get a lot of stuff done, hopefully. But yeah, the Davis vertical feed machine, definitely. I will be giving y'all updates on assembling that and learning how to use it, and hopefully making curtains or maybe some like denim projects. We're gonna see. But yeah. That's kind of what I'm setting up for.
All right. Well, trying to think. Other than that, yeah, I don't really have any other life updates or anything like that.
Yeah, I finally got my Save Watt postcards that were given to me at WatCon. I finally got those in the mail today.
Oh, nice.
Which, you know, I kept telling myself it was okay. I was procrastinating because they said that it's better if it all comes in a trickle, like a steady trickle, rather than like in like really sharp peaks and valleys. So I'm like, well, a bunch of people probably sent their stuff right after WatCon, so I'm helping.
Yes,
actually,
that
I'm
procrastination
helping the
pays
cause
off. It sure does.
by waiting till later. You know, I'm being a real team player. But yeah, I got given 2 of those at the con, so I finally got those into the mail today. So I felt accomplished about that. Yeah, blueberries are about done, but it's blackberry time. You were telling me before we got on recording that you've been picking out on some blackberries near your place. I am seeing the bushes go off near my place. It's definitely the month of blackberries.
Well, I discovered a new trail that's right by my house. It's actually, you know, I knew about a trail that if I took a left, but then there's one where it's like if you just push through a very thin group of bushes, there's a whole nother trail on the right that goes to a whole nother, you know, patch of blackberry bushes and abandoned train tracks and little field out there that's right by my house. So I got very excited about that. That was really, really fun to explore and check out, especially with Harvey, as I was looking for the cat. It's kind of how I found it, as I was out looking everywhere and found a few new spaces. But that's, you know, I was exploring the neighborhood, which is I haven't necessarily done as much as I'd like to, because it's funny when you move into a new house. I'm spending all the time on the house, and I haven't really explored the neighborhood as much as I'd like to. People are like, oh, what restaurants? Where are you going? And I'm like, I've really been home. I've been home a lot. Been very much a homebody when you buy a home. But I've been really lucky with this house that it was totally move-in ready. I haven't had any of those gotcha moments where you're like, uh-oh, didn't realize that there was moisture in the basement or a bad thing, or, you know, my appliances work, the electricity works, the plumbing works. You know, I've had to deal with a clogged dryer vent is about the worst I've had to deal with. And that's just normal maintenance. So I've been really, really lucky with the house. And there's one panel of wood on the outside that has a fixture mounted to it that's kind of rotting, so I need to replace that. But, you know, really minor things, especially for the age of the house. So really, really loving owning my own place. People are always like, oh, the first year's the worst. I'm like, it's been really nice. It's been really nice. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm waiting for the other ball to drop, but no HOA, no landlords, my own space. It's been really nice.
Yeah, no, our first year, I mean, yeah, it's like all the stuff that we threw money into on the house for the first several years of being here has all been improvements to things that we want, rather than like, oh no, we didn't realize this was a problem. Like, we moved in knowing there was no wood stove. We were very clear on that.
Right.
We needed to fix it. That was a problem, but like we knew going in, and it was like overall a very fun process to have that put in. And doing the roof was like, well, obviously we want to do the roof. We didn't need to wait for it to leak. We just got in there ahead of it.
Yeah. Like I replaced a chandelier with a ceiling fan, which I think is much prettier. I've hung some curtains.
Nice.
You know, still want to paint, but haven't really settled on colors yet. I don't think I've lived here long enough.
Yeah, same. We need to paint because the paint job in here is terrible. But like, yeah, we do need to decide on colors, which so far has been a problem.
Nemtalk, the chandelier's all yours if you want it. It's sitting in our garage ready to be taken. You'll have to rebend some of the chains I had to unbend to get it down, but yeah. You can definitely, it's a brushed silver 4 light chandelier. Oh, that
sounds like the one I've got in my dining room.
Okay, can we discuss chandeliers over dining room tables and how much I hate them? Like, because
go off.
All right, first of all, what makes you think, electrician, that you know where I'm going to be putting my dining room table, first of all, right? You're stuck because, and especially with a chandelier, if you don't have a table there, you're going to bash your head on that thing. And I'm short. I know tall people are going to bash their head on that. And oh my God, they're the worst idea. The light then, okay, let's talk about the light that they provide. The light's at eye level. It's shining into your eyes. Why would they do that? You want light that's overhead shining down, or a lamp that's shining light up on a wall, so you have indirect light, right? Or so you have shaded light. But these chandeliers are usually, you know, big, bright LED bulbs. And now that we have LED bulbs, of course, you get this point light, which makes it all that much worse, in your eyes, at eye level, that you're going to bang your head on. It forces you to decorate your house in a specific way. And my God, a ceiling fan makes all the difference for controlling your cooling and heating and regulating the evenness in your house from top to bottom, right? If you don't know how to reverse your fan or why you should do it, that's definitely something to think about. Because in the summer, you want to be blowing down, and basically in the winter, you want to be circulating the other way. So I think of it counterclockwise versus clockwise, right? You're changing the direction in which the air is circulating. But it really makes a big difference for your heating and cooling if you have the...
No, a fan makes such a big difference. Like, because like we have a wood stove, right? So like we have quite the column of heat that rises to the top, and we have really tall, not really tall, but decently tall ceilings. And yeah, it evens the house's heat out so much to have that fan running. And yes, you do want to reverse it in the summer because it will still work technically if you don't reverse it throughout the year. Like, any movement is better than no movement, but it does make a really big difference when you're hot and ridiculous in the summer just because you thought too hard, and then you can have a breeze that blows across you. And like, also, if you're talking about managing your heating and cooling, like covering your windows makes such a difference, either to block the sun out or to keep the heat in. Like, it makes such a difference on managing your house's temperature if you can like adjust your window openness and closedness across the course of a 24-hour cycle to take advantage of whichever heat regime is more appropriate.
And double pane windows make a big difference if you have good double pane windows.
Oh yeah, it makes a big difference. But like, I've discovered my bedroom, the windows face north, right? So there is no direct sunlight into them except for like the last like hour of the afternoon. But all day, there's no direct light coming in those windows, but we have blackout curtains. It keeps the house so much cooler if I pull the blackout curtains over the north-facing windows during the day. Like, it turns out radiation is radiation is radiation. Turns out. So yeah, curtains, even on windows that don't have direct sunlight, make a big difference.
Well, and for us, the ceiling fan is so important in the living room because we have one of those there's no walls on my first floor, right? It's kitchen, living room, and then stairs, basically. So that one fan's able to control basically the whole floor and keep the whole floor at a good condition. So that's made actually a huge difference for our comfort on that level. So I'm sure there's 1,000 things like that I'm going to want to do over time as I move in. But I am struggling to make it feel like I'm not renting, right? I think that's one of the things. I've rented for such a long time. This is the first house I've owned, and part of me is like, oh, I got to make sure the landlord doesn't get angry when I do this or do that. And so I have to change my mentality around that, and I haven't quite. Maybe if I'm here for more than a year, I'll start to
just start drawing on the wall,
right?
Just break the seal. Just take a nice fat Sharpie and just start doodling on the wall. And then it will break through your brain from thinking of that.
So actually what I wanted Never to do, because she's actually a pretty good artist, is I wanted her to paint the mantle, because the mantle's just like painted white.
Fuck yeah.
And I was like, just do like flowers or doodles or something on the mantle so that we can break the seal. And that was something we wanted to do, but time.
Yeah, no, exactly. You just got to start with something that's like not a huge, massive, like weekend consuming project, just so that way like your brain can start to adjust to the fact that like, I can do that. I can put holes in the wall. I can, whatever the thing is.
I think the only thing that really break the seal, break it. What has broken the seal though is Harvey's nails have definitely like the wood is definitely a soft pine, and Harvey's nails have left marks all over it. So I'm like, well, the floors are going to have to be refinished before we sell the place. Like, we're at that point where it's like,
yeah,
that's just a given at this point. Even though I have carpets down over most of it, like there's enough spots that are fucked up that it's like, no, the floors are going to have to be refinished. So just not worrying about them really that much.
Yeah, for sure. Because, yeah, it's like you're going to live in the house and do whatever improvements or changes or whatever. And then when you decide to sell it, then you can cross all the bridges about resale value, et cetera, et cetera. Like, that's not a thing to burden yourself with now.
No. And the way the housing market is going, I will die in this house. So, there's that.
Yeah,
not going to worry about resale value.
Does not need to dominate your thinking.
All right. Speaking of dying in this house, so we talk about the Borderlands.
Well, first we have to talk about. Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app, and consider supporting us on Patreon for ad-free episodes. What Spoilers is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.